Have you ever had an old truck that just sort of became your friend? And at times you may have even thought about selling her, but you just couldn't bring yourself to it. There's just too much history there. For us, it's not so much the old truck, but what sat on the back of it. She was built for one purpose, to film predators at night, but oh, did she become so much more. I think it's safe to say for all of us, the memories made there are simply too many to count. It became a gathering place where we as friends could come together to enjoy the sport we all love. There are things that happened in that old rack that I wouldn't trade for the entire world. Like the time Gary and I called up a monster cat to like 5 yards and couldn't kill it. On this night, they were off limits, but we'll never forget it. As calling seasons came and went, the rig inherently became part of our identity. When you thought of Night Crew, the first thing that came to mind was those guys from Texas who hunt from a truck with this giant white light. Those guys are crazy. I guess the way I saw it was go big or go home, and I've never been much on blending in. I always wanted to make our own path and follow it till we found our way. And throughout that journey, the rig was always there as a reminder of who we are and where we came from. A tiger can't hide his stripes, and for us, no matter where this sport takes us, no matter how advanced technology becomes, no matter how many times guys ask us why we still use lights, we will always be true to the ways that got us here. The high rack tradition that runs deep in the hearts of many night hunters of this state will ring true till the day we all die, and that will simply never change for this team. But sadly, I'm here today to tell you years of use and times of even abuse have finally taken its toll on the old girl. Although the rig itself never let us down, the sheer stress she put on the back of a truck put 2 of them in the junkyard, never to run again. Frankly, she was just more than they could handle. And when the last one finally went, I knew in my heart she may have seen her final ride. There are several things I knew I wanted to change on the new rig, pretty much just improving on the last one. It seems no matter how much you think it through, there's always something you wished you'd done different. The first and biggest change was building off the frame of the truck itself instead of a reinforced bed like the last one. So I decided an aluminum flatbed was the ticket. The first thing I knew that had to go was the headache rack. It was just going to get in our way. I didn't want anything obstructing the frame we were about to build, and my buddy Keith made quick work of it. Keith's an unbelievable fabricator, but we'll get back to him here in a bit. Essentially what I wanted to do is come up off the flatbed with the main platform and extend its footprint by an entire foot all the way around. So we made the main platform literally as wide as we could go. I'd made my mind up if and when we ever rebuilt it, I was making it as big as possible or I wasn't doing it. The way I see it, with an open slate and having the room to spare, why not take advantage of it? I can remember back to one of the first kills I ever got with Gary from the old rig, and distinctly realizing it had one major flaw in its design right off the bat. Like I said, you always find stuff after the fact you wished you had done different, every single time. In this case, we realized it was much harder shooting towards the front of the truck as opposed to the back of the truck. And the reason was because the shooter had to crawl up on the elevated camera platform with the camera guy and shoot from an awkward kneeling position. It just wasn't comfortable. It was doable for the shooter, but I had built that rig with filming as its priority and not so much the shooter. But this time I'm taking care of both. I've had this idea in mind for a while now of essentially building an elevated platform in the center of the rig, but this time making it like an island, where the shooter can go all the way around it with ease, instead of blocking him from the front of the truck like the last one. The camera and shooter will never interfere with each other like in the past.
Yeah, I would think anything fabricated, machined, anything you see like that on the show probably came from this place right here. Man, I think I remember the first time Chris called. The guy's on the phone, he's talking about a camera mount, and I'm thinking he's some photographer geek or something, and I told him, just come by, bring it, let's look at it, see what we can do. And when I met him then, I knew he had an understanding of what he wanted. We just had to get it on paper where the guys here in the shop can make what he wants and get his camera mounted. And then from there, it just went to lights, to racks, to you name it, chairs. You never know what he's got.
Keith is extremely talented and has a gift for just seeing a simple picture drawn on a piece of paper and bringing it to life.
What do you figure that weighs? A couple 100 pounds?
Yeah, our fabricator, Keith, I don't know what we do without him. You can kind of give him what you want. He'll kind of sometimes add to it in his head. Whatever you want, he can freestyle fab. I think we've got our own Jesse James right here for Chris's contraptions he comes up with. And Chris dreams it, Keith makes it come to life. We've been here for 30 years, and I don't think we've ever had anybody that could just start putting something together. They'll draw it on paper, but it's hard to draw stuff like that. It's all done old school. They hold tape measures up to the trucks, and I want it about this tall. Keith just starts chopping and welding and just starts coming together.
Another thing I wanted built in was dedicated access points right behind the cab on both sides. That should definitely make getting in and out much faster and easier.
That step's going to be pretty convenient for a fat guy.
Yeah, especially for someone like me.
I was talking about myself, Keith.
Yeah, when Chris walks in, first thing I think, what's he dreamed up this time? Over the last 12, 15 years, I would have never had an idea of what all he'd have come up with. Started with the camera mounts, to the light mounts. Hey, I want to put a spotlight here, and I'm like, half the time I'd probably think he's a little crazy. I don't know if it's gonna work. We just kept doing it. Started off with 2 lights, 3 lights, 5 lights. I've seen lights hanging over the top of his camera off the bottom, and we're like going, what's this guy doing? What's he up to? He calls me and he goes, I'm wanting to put a aluminum bed on my truck. The more I talk to him and I get face to face with him, we start talking the size. And I'm like, this thing's a lot bigger than last time. I think that new rig is a lot more, I just call it user friendly. Because his other one was kind of tight and I could see them running together. This one here, 2 or 3 guys could get up there, shoot from any side of the truck. You don't have to worry about falling off. You don't have to worry about running into each other. The only thing you got to do is keep the camera on the animal and come out with some good footage, I hope.
This thing was coming together exactly how I saw it in my head. The platform was built, and I'll be honest, I couldn't wait to jump up on it and test it out for the first time. And let's just say it made me a little warm and fuzzy inside. I knew I needed a ton of floor space for my island, and that's the main reason I chose to go with all aluminum. I would hate to know what this thing would have weighed had we used steel.
Let's say your shelves follow that deal, and then whenever we get to about right here, just keep 12 inches, follow the 12 inches out. That way, right, that way you essentially you got where your shelf on the inside right here is shelving, but it starts about right here on the outside. Yeah. And then turns and then goes that way. That way, like when we're walking around in the thing, you got shelving, we can walk all the way to right there. And we're saving all this space and not taking it up with shelves.
I needed a good walkway all the way around the island, so placing it in the right spot was key.
There's almost part of me that kind of liked your idea of shifting it further back this way, because like when we're driving in and out of places, we're usually leaning up against the front.
We couldn't go any wider, but we could extend the frame in the front and the back outside of the main platform to give us an extra foot in the front and the back. And in the end, that will turn out to be the right call.
But what I'm wanting to do is basically frame up off of the platform however high it needs to be and essentially just create just a frame for this to sit on. Man, that's perfect. I don't think we could have picked a better height than that. Man, it's coming together.
The shelf up front was going to serve a few purposes. One was obviously to shoot off of, and the other was built-in storage. There's nothing like being able to keep all your gear up top the entire night. Besides being a pain in the butt having to haul it up and down all night, it's much safer. The gun comes out of the box, then goes right back in after stands, being handled by one person, not two. No more handing a loaded rifle back and forth in the dark. It's just not safe. It stays up top. But I didn't want to just stop there. I had to make this one-of-a-kind rig our own, and that was going to take a little special touch. I told Keith I don't like ordinary, because ordinary is just ordinary. I wanted our logo to just pop off the side of this thing where it was kind of like we like our coyote kills on the show. In your face. And what he came up with set this thing on fire. And now, there's definitely nothing out there like it.
You know, we try to make his dreams come to life. This one here is pretty cool. It's nice. You see it coming down the road. When he pulls into the parking lot, you can see the night crew on the side, and it looks good. It looks real good. Yeah, I think this rack here, the animals don't know it, but that white glow is not the end of the tunnel. It's Chris. He's got a gun, a big gun. That's probably gonna be the last thing they see.
We were so excited to get to use her, we just couldn't stand it. We had to get her out and see if she does what she was built to do. She wasn't totally completed yet, but we didn't care. We had to break her in and draw first blood, and I had the perfect place in mind. I'd been eyeing a spot for 2 years for a cat that I'd been holding off of till we had a rig. There was no real good way to do it on foot and still film it, and I wasn't going to burn it till I knew we could get it on camera. We just needed the height of the rig to make it work. But there was one thing she still had to prove. She had some big shoes to fill to even come close to what the old rig produced. She couldn't just jump in the game and expect to be the GOAT. There's a mountain of proving she had to climb first. If we played them all from end to end in real time, it would go on for hours. The hours would turn into days, and the days to weeks, to watch all the footage ever captured from our old friend. It will take a very long time for this new rig to ever catch up, but we're gonna try. For me, the most important thing with this new one was functionality. It didn't matter how good it looked if it didn't do everything we needed it to with ease. All the way down to the location of the storage boxes themselves for cameras and rifles. If we can make an extra few stands throughout the night simply because setting up is much faster, that's why all these little things matter. We could tell right from the start this thing just felt right. And for me personally, this was a bit like the beginning of a new chapter. The anticipation of seeing the first animal out of it was high. We were about to put her to her first real test. Even though she wasn't all the way complete yet, we had to see if she'd kill.
This segment of Night Crew is brought to you by AllPredatorCalls.com, your predator calling superstore. Ultimate Night Vision, the source for night vision. Wicked Hunting Lights. If it ain't wicked, it ain't worth it. Recon, rugged and ready. iRay USA, high performance thermal optics. And by Fox Pro, high performance game calls.
Like I said before, there's a reason we haven't hunted this spot on foot. It's just way too thick. This cat's using every single tree he comes to hide behind. At this point, we just gotta wait him out. There he is.
Winding us about as big as you could wind us. Oh man, I'll tell you what though, we'd have never got away with that from the ground. How cool is that?
Man, it's thick in here. Being able to hunt out of the new rack and seeing this backside of this country. We've been on foot for the last several weeks. I don't think we'd have seen this guy. Definitely wouldn't have seen him. He had no clue we were there. A little better cat than I thought. Nice cat. Yeah, just the amount of brush back here, we've been kind of waiting to get back in here when the rack was finally done.
It's been, I guess, really 2 years we've been down. The rig's been kind of down for 2 years, and we finally got this new one built, man. It's nice. We felt kind of naked without it.
Right. I wasn't a part of the first rack, but man, this rack here, super nice. Just the perfect elevation. height of the grass doesn't look real tall in here, but what you can't tell is all the little hills, and being on foot would have been seriously hard to check them out and see them and get a shot on them.
Yeah, this pasture, you can't really tell. Well, you could see it in the video, but the pasture's got trees in the absolute worst places. And there's no way we could have done it on foot without having a tree basically right on top of us.
Oh, no. Especially when he got right in here. Or, I'm sorry, back in here. He started to go right. Thankfully, he came back left. The rack was definitely a tool, but doing it on foot would have been incredibly difficult.
What are we going to call this new one?
The new rack?
Yeah, the other one, we can't use the rig. The old rig is the rig.
Right. Yeah, you can't, there can't be a rig too. It's like naming a boat.
We got to come up with some kind of special name. It may take us a while, but we'll think about it.
Yeah.
First blood, though.
Yeah, first blood. Dang sure proud to be a cat.
He was smelling us.
Oh man, you'll see, the video got it all too. He sat there on his hindquarters and yeah, he got a good whiff of us.
Only time will tell if the new rig, or whatever we end up naming her, will ever live up to her predecessor. This cat may not be the best kill we ever got, but you know what? It's a start, and you gotta start somewhere. If this cat only knew it lived its whole life for this moment, I'd bet he'd do things a little different. His path has always led him to right here, to this moment where he will always be the first to ever be taken from the world's coolest high rack ever built. At least it is in our book.